All right, we are in 3.6 here in AP Precalculus land, and in 3.6 you are now going to do some manipulation of sinusoidal functions. So a sinusoidal function looks like this. You got y equals a times, this is a sine, so we'll write out sine. When it's cosine, we'll write out cosines. Okay, b times x. And tell you what, we'll leave it like this. This is what this looks like, so we'll leave it like this. We won't write out the whole c and d thing. We'll do that in later problems. What A here stands for is A stands for the amplitude. That's how tall something is, okay? What B here stands for is B stands for, that's an ugly looking arrow, the frequency. Now the frequency, okay, the frequency is the same exact thing as 2 pi over the period. So if I want to find the period, we can find the period by doing 2 pi over whatever that b is. Okay, so let's do a little bit of math. First things first, before we even graph, the amplitude is the number in front of sine, and in this case, the number in front of sine is 4, so the amplitude is 4. The midline. Now, the midline is basically when you graph this thing, the midline is when you cut it directly in half. When you're not adding or subtracting anything to the whole thing, your midline is the x-axis. Okay, the midline is found by whatever number you add to this whole sinusoidal function. I'm not adding anything. So the midline is nothing. So the midline is the x-axis, so we will say the equation y equals 0. Now what that looks like graphically is, since everything starts out in the middle, since everything is leveled off at the x-axis, my amplitude is also going to be my maximum value and my minimum value. Since I have no vertical shift, my maximum value is going to be 4, and my minimum value is going to be -4. My frequency is the number in front of x. Well, the number in front of x isn't as clear because it's x over 2. But I know I can write this guy as 1/2 x. So B, my frequency, is 1/2. Now, I can find my period by doing P equals 2 pi over 1/2. Now, I don't like dividing by a half, so let's multiply the top and the bottom by 2. You're allowed to do that because you know it equals 1. So that's going to cross that out, because 1/2 of 2 is 1. And 2 pi times 2 gives me a period of 4 pi. Now, given all this information, it's time to graph this puppy out. Okay, sine starts out at 0, 0. Since I'm not shifting this thing left or right, and I'm not shifting this thing up or down, it starts still at 0, 0. Everything repeats at 4 pi. Okay, now I don't have 4 pi to take it to. Okay, I only have 2 pi, which means when I hit 2 pi, I go through half of its process. So what's going to happen is the whole thing would look like this. Start here, go up, go down, and repeat. And it would repeat at 4 pi. But since my graph only takes me to 2 pi, I'm cutting it off right there. So this is going to peak out halfway between 0 and 2 pi, which is pi, and it peaks out at 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it goes back to its midline at 2 pi. Now, similarly, going backwards, this thing is going to bottom out at 1, 2, 3, -4, and then hit the x-axis again at -2 pi. So when I draw that out, which I'm terrible at, it's going to look like this. Remember when I said I'm terrible at it? I wasn't lying. Started off weak, ended off strong. But that's it. Let's get rid of this one. I'm not happy with that one. I'm just going to scooch it over there and make it look slightly better. So there you have it. There's your sine. There's your sine. As you can see, the whole period is seen just on this graph. Amplitude is 4, -4 is minimum value. Everything is exactly as it should be. Midline is y equals 0. Yeah. And it's our first sinusoidal graph that we ever did here on random SAT, not SAT, AP Precalculus Problems that I stole from the internet. I do have random SAT ones. You should check those out too, like and subscribe.